What's up gamers, it's TreesapJake here with yet another video, and today's video we're going to be talking about the changes coming up, well today already for NA, but tomorrow on the 11th for us here in EU, and we're going to be talking about how these changes are going to be pushing Elemental Shaman up and how they're going to just be bringing Shadow Priest down ever so slightly. So we're going to be talking about them, and we're going to see how other classes around Elemental Shaman affect them. And this is a key point of what I've always been saying with how Elemental Shaman is. It is so dependent on the meta to be strong, and what characters are strong, what classes and specs are strong around it for it to be very good. Because normally Elemental Shaman isn't touched. We don't get changed. We get a balancing at the start of the expansion, we get a little bit at the beginning, and then we're not touched for ages. And the reason why is because, generally speaking, Ellie is pretty well balanced. It's a pretty good class, it's a pretty great spec that has a lot of great utility and just feels amazing. It doesn't really need to change. It could use with some tuning. I will happily admit that there are, for example, deeply rooted elements probably needs a nerf. But you could not nerf anything else without totally ruining the spec. So it's in a good place, and it increases as other classes come down, and that's just how it's always really been. So let's start off by just talking through some of the changes. I'm going to go through most of the big ones rapidly. I'm going to linger on the Shadow Priest as well, because obviously we play Shadow Priest on this channel as well. I just want to talk about that. So feral damage is being increased. Ability damage, so that's anytime you press the buttons, is being increased by 3%. I'd like to start this off and caveat this by saying I think all abilities, all tuning we should get every couple of weeks should be like 2-3% changes, nerfs, buffs, stuff like that, to try and get a more balanced game. I think this is a good start, but I don't think Feral needed it. Definitely didn't. This is crazy. So Feral goes up to S tier. This is incredible. They are going to pump. Evoker getting these buffs is probably needed, but again, that one shot you're going to experience, like the Frost DK Devastation Evoker, that one shot's going to be there, and it's going to be scary, and it's getting stronger. So consistent damage is going up. The burst damage is going up. It's scary. So just watch out for those going in. Survival Hunter, all ability damage and pet damage increased by 2%. Again, as I'm saying, 2% is nice. This is good. I think that's good changes. Kill shot hurts like a mother. It's ridiculous. That didn't need to go up at all. But obviously their consistent damage going up is good. And I think this is obviously, you know, PvE changes and whatnot. Just these are the PvE changes just before people say. So just a few things. Fire Mage, don't care. Frost Mage, again, this is big. So obviously I play with a Frost Mage in God Comp. The damage is going up. Glacial Sprite, Rare Frost, Frostbolt, all of this consistent damage is going up. It means Frost Mages are going to start to be scarier. You're going to start to see a lot more, I think, Mage Lock. You're going to see your classic BFA, your classic Shadowlands, Frost Mage, Destro Warlock coming back, I think. This is going to be a bit nuts. It's just going to be, they're probably going to be the Wizard Kings. It's going to be really scary. Again, healing of Mistweavers, that's good. All healing goes up. Buffs the Mistweaver, buffs the Fist Weaving, like it. This was good. This will kind of bring Mistweavers up, and I think that's what they needed. Ret getting a buff. I know Savix made a video on this. I don't know them very well. I know that Final Reckoning did a lot of damage. It can crit really hard. And Crusader Striking Blade, just obviously their consistent damage. So it means that maybe a more consistent Ret will come back in. It means that outside of Wings, there will be something, but who knows. Again, more healing buffs for Holy. I think bring the healers up. That's a big thing. Now, focusing on Shadow here. So obviously you see these buffs. These are PvE buffs. Focus Will, obviously, that's a nerf. So we take more damage from melee. That's a shame. Mind Blast goes up by 15. Mind Flay goes up by 15. Mind Spike, Void Torrent, Devouring Plague up by 15. So when we get to the PvP changes, you'll see that all of the nerfs to these spells in particular, it's basically a 5% nerf across the board, which is fine. That's normal numbers. I think that'll be okay. That just means that the consistent damage is going up. So the damage of these abilities are going down, and therefore, you know, it's kind of like a small consistent change to this sort of damage, especially in PvP. Looking at Warlocks here, Affliction damage going up. They already absolutely slay. This is obviously targeted PvE, but it's going to affect PvP quite badly. I think this is going to be really, they're going to be a real struggle queuing into some really, like, Athlete Warlock Feral Druids could be completely unhealable. Destro damage going up. Channel Demon Fire, again, it's not much of a thing. I mean, a lot of these sort of changes here, as you see, don't apply to PvP, and that's fine. I think that's okay, to be honest with you. So, getting to the meat of the issue, the player versus player side of things. Demon Hunter's nerfed, great, that puts Ellie up. You know, soul rending leech bonus reduced by 40%. That means they're not going to have this insane leech that has kept them up for so long. Glimpse 35% was 75%. It just means that when they do the backflip, it's not going to be as painful or as you know, well, you're not going to be able, you're going to still be able to do stuff to them. Essence break as well. Those big chaos strikes, blade dance, not going to happen as much. Soul rend damage reduced as well. So you know that dot that seems to just make them a dot class, that consistent damage is going down. So overall, consistent damage coming down, big burst damage coming down. Like it's a good change. It'll make them less oppressive. Will it keep them in a meta? Who knows? This preservation nerf, I spoke to Nephi about this. It's not a massive deal. I don't think it's going to be huge, so I wouldn't worry about it too much. They're still going to be fine on the mana. It's not much of a massive nerf. It just means that they're going to be sort of on par-ish, a bit more with certain other healers. Nerfs to Arcane, that's okay with us. Glacial Spike nerf, again, Frost being up isn't a bad thing for Ellie. You know, we are a anti-caster caster. We're very good at dealing with casters. Grounding Totem, Kick, Hex, everything, Disruption, perfect for us. So that's fine. Monk is getting their consistent damage buffed, which is, you know, I don't know monks. I know Fax would probably hate that. I think some of the other big bursts needed to come down. They were kind of nuts. I know that monks tend to say that they're unplayable as soon as their nerfs happen, but I've still seen them be absolutely wipe the floor with a lot of people. We've seen one-shots all over the place. So I think, you know, this is just basically their consistent damage going down. Their burst damage going down, consistent damage going up. That's fine. Flashing buffs, again, bringing these healers up. That's okay. Now let's talk about Shadow here. So obviously 25%, as I said, 15% up, 25%. It's more like a 10% nerf now that I'm looking at it. It's looking like a 10% nerf. The idea here is that they want them to be able to, you know, I mean, it's 5% for Vampiric Touch, but they basically, the idea is that they want them to be able to cast, right? And with the proc rates here, so they're getting rid of the proc rates, kind of reducing them a little bit more. That just means you'll have to cast more. They won't have as many sort of like free Mind Spikes or random Mind Blasts. You'll still be able to get your instant cast by using Mind Spike, but it's going to be a bit more tricky, I think. It's going to raise the skill cap a bit more for Shadow Priest. Just means it's going to be more difficult. Assassination Rogue, Garrote getting nerfed, and Iron Wire's damage reduction debuff as well being reduced. This is insane. Assassination nerfs, Ellie buffs. That's all it is. If you nerf Assassination, you buff Ellie because they are the most oppressive spec for our class, for our spec. So that's good. I mean, Shadow Priest going down is kind of a sad thing for Ellie because you could play Ellie Shadow Priest. There were some other good comps there. But again, it's a very good thing overall. It just means that Ellie's going to just rising up to be the kind of star caster at the minute. Demonology, these nerfs here were very much needed. I'm very much anti-demo. I think it's a really, I wouldn't say it's brain dead. I think it's more kind of like, you just a lot of passive damage. You can do a lot of things whilst you're controlled, and that makes it really difficult, whilst also having a lot of defensives, and that's kind of rough. So obviously here, Demonic Strength, you know, basically the Fell Storm that the pets were doing, which was absolutely destroying you, and Dreadbite and Demon Fire and all that is coming down. So I don't think Demo's out of the meta. I just think it means that it's less oppressive. Warrior defensive stance, this is buff to Warriors, which means a buff to Thunder, which could be a good thing. So we could see, you know, the return of Thunder. I've definitely seen people queuing on the ladder, and it's a great comp. So my thoughts on this so far. So I definitely think Ellie is up at the top right now, so that's a really big thing. I think Shadow Priest come down a little bit. I think you've got DK, Pharaoh at the top, so all the kind of ones which you can kind of deal with as Ellie. Like Pharaoh's not too bad. You can get rid of the bleeds if you're playing Dwarf as well, so that's kind of a good thing, so you can kind of counter that. Same with the diseases from the DK. You can get rid of those sort of things and kind of really buff yourself as Ellie, so I don't think that's too much of an issue for Shamans. So I think Shaman's going to be really at the top, and we're going to have a lot of damage coming out. I would expect some nerfs at some point, probably to deep-rooted elements. I think that's probably where it will come, kind of reducing the amount of times you can really proc from that. If they nerf anything else, they'll probably kill Elemental, and that'll be really sad. So I think that's it. Hopefully that's it for Shadow Priest nerfs. I think Shadow Priest are in a good spot now, kind of middle of the pack. I think the raising of the healers in terms of their healing output is really good. So I'm very happy about that. Bring all the healers up to the same level as Preservation Evoker, and we'll have more, well, first of all, more healers will come out of the woodwork and play, but also just in general, across the board, we'll just have a better time with more different comps. So those are my thoughts. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know where you think we're going to be in the meta. Let me know where you think we're going to be in general. If you're playing Shadow Priest, what do you think about that? Do you think this is going to kill your spec? I don't personally think so, I don't think the nerfs are too bad, but it's going to be fine. Elemental Shaman is up. If you play Death Knight, let me know. I'm just really excited to get out there and play, and I think this is really good balancing. I think Blizzard are doing a fantastic job by keeping on top of this. I would like to see smaller nerfs, though, and smaller buffs, keeping within 2 to 3% like they've kind of been doing. But anyway, guys, that's it. That's the end of the video. Hope you have a wonderful day. Peace.